Hi, Dr. Scott here, and the purpose of this video is to give you an overview of how your thyroid works and explain to you the 6 patterns that cause your thyroid to malfunction. Now, this is going to be an overview. I will have some later videos that will go in detail on each pattern to give you an idea of how do you tell by lab testing, what can you do, and that kind of a thing. So let me just start with this. The standard of care for treating thyroid conditions in the United States is thyroid hormone replacement therapy, and that's it. Now, that is a valid thing to do. It is necessary if you're pattern number 1, which is primary hypothyroid. If you're not primary hypothyroid, well, the medication is not going to help you long term, and you're not going to feel really any different. You have to address the other issues. So out of the 6 patterns, normally our patients will have 3, maybe 4 different patterns on average. So there's multiple things that you need to do. So let me give you the overview of how this all works, and we have to start at how your thyroid works. So the first thing is it all starts in the hypothalamus. This is part of your brain, and we call this the boss. Okay, this is the boss, and the boss has a general manager, which is the pituitary gland. And the reason why the boss has a general manager, because he's busy doing other stuff, right? And what the general manager's job is to regulate thyroid function. So if you look here on the graph, the thyroid gland is a factory. So that's how you want to look at this. The one purpose of the thyroid is only to make thyroid hormone. That's it, and their job is done. So the 2 hormones that the factory makes is T4 and T3. So here's what happens. When T4 goes low in your blood, the message runs up to the boss, the hypothalamus. He detects or she detects low production, calls the general manager, and the general manager says, oh my gosh, you better start making thyroid hormone. And so it starts yelling at the thyroid gland to make hormone. And it yells to the thyroid by using a hormone. You see, hormones are just a way to talk to other parts of your body. And this hormone tells your thyroid to make thyroid hormone. Now, out of the 2 hormones, as you can see, T4 is the most abundant hormone that's made in the thyroid. Almost all of it's T4, and very little bit of it is actually T3. Now, the difference between those 2 is T4 is inactive. Now, remember, thyroid hormone is the spark that turns on every single cell of your body, and T4 will not spark any cells, only T3. So you can see there that actually T3, only 7% of it's kind of like ready to go, ready to stimulate the cell to turn on. The rest of it, or the vast majority of it, has to be converted into the active hormone. So here's how it works. There's this truck called a thyroid binding globulin truck. It goes down to the thyroid, picks up thyroid, and you see these TBG trucks? This is how the body shuttles hormone throughout the body. So the shuttle, or the TBG truck, goes down and picks up thyroid hormone, takes it up to your liver. That's kind of like the first stop. So imagine this dump truck is dumping all this T4 at the liver, and so all this T4 gets dumped off there, and here's what happens with it. 60% of all that hormone, that T4 hormone, gets converted into the active hormone T3, as you can see there on the graph. So not all of this hormone is automatically turned into active T3 hormone. So only 60% of it. Now, it does that little arrow there is basically an enzyme. And the enzyme that converts 4 into T3 is called 5' deiodinase. Now, the other 20% of the T4 hormone gets turned into reverse T3. Now, this reverse T3 is a permanently inactive hormone. It will never turn on a cell, ever. So you want to make sure your liver is converting into T3 and not getting confused and over-converting too much into reverse T3, or you can run into problems. Okay, now the last 20% gets turned into, of that T4 gets turned into, what they call it is T3S and T3AC. Now, these hormones are inactive as well, but just temporarily. Now they're different than reverse T3. They can be converted into an active hormone, but it doesn't happen in the liver. So here's what happens. This TBG truck runs over to the liver, picks up S and AC, and runs it down and drops it off at the gut. Now, if you have a healthy gut and good balance of bacteria, and you don't have gut issues or digestive problems, then there's an enzyme that will be present called intestinal sulfatase. And that if that enzyme's there, it will convert that T3-SNAC into the active hormone T3 that eventually can be sent to the cell to turn on the cell. So let me ask you this question. Let's say a person has a gut problem, right? So now this gut problem makes it so they don't have this enzyme present, so they're not converting 20% of the hormone. Do you think that could give you thyroid symptoms? Absolutely yes, can it give you thyroid symptoms. But you notice it's not a thyroid problem. Remember, the thyroid did its job. It's a factory. It made the hormone, but there's just another physiological mechanism that was broken, which happens to be the gut. That's supposed to convert that hormone. So this is many times people will get screened for thyroid hypothyroidism, and they're told they're normal because they don't have low production of hormone. They have low conversion of that hormone in the gut, for example. Same thing can happen in the liver. So this is a conversion problem. So we'll go in detail on each one of these. Okay, so that's a quick overview. What I want you to get is you can have thyroid symptoms and not be a thyroid problem. And in fact, over 90% of the time, it isn't a thyroid problem, it's something else. So let me put it all together. So what happens is when T4 goes low in the blood, the message, that's what starts everything, right? And then the pituitary starts kicking out all this TSH. And let's say that your doctor happens to pull TSH at the moment that the pituitary is yelling at the thyroid. He checks TSH and T4, and he sees that TSH is high in your blood, and he goes, hey, you've got a thyroid problem. And what they say is like, okay, well, let me prescribe you a medication for it, because that's what they're going to do. That is a standard of care, is thyroid hormone replacement, because on that test, it indicates you need thyroid hormone. So you take the thyroid hormone, it normalizes TSH and T4, and life is good. Well, should be good, right? But many times people will look at that, right? And they'll look at the labs go normal, and then the doctor's like, just fix your thyroid problem. But many of these people, they still are fatigued and tired and have weight gain. They have all these issues. And they're like, what the heck is going on? And they go, I don't know, it's not your thyroid, it must be something else, right? Well, and that's the thing. So that pattern right there, that TSH T4 level, that is where traditional medicine lives. That's how they know if you need thyroid hormone replacement. And once they do that, they're done. Their job is done. If TSH goes too high or too low, it can kill you, and that can become a problem. And so that thyroid medication is going to prevent major problems down the road, and that's why they do it. But if you're on thyroid medication and your symptoms did not go away, that just means you weren't just a primary hypothyroid problem. You have other issues along the way. So what we do is we let traditional medicine handle that category, that pattern 1. Only 10% of the time is it actually a pattern 1 problem. But if you come to our clinic and we see you have a pattern 1 problem, well, we're going to send you to our medical staff, and they're going to prescribe you thyroid hormone. And then we handle all the other problems that can go along with that.